Cecil! I need you, Cecil!
Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another Invincible Guarding the Globe character profile, and today we're going to be talking about the man, the myth, the legend Cecil Stedman, head of the Global Defense Agency, and our first event-only character to do a profile on. If you're new here and don't know how these videos work, then let me give you a basic explanation. Essentially, in these videos, I talk about specific characters in the mobile game Invincible Guarding the Globe. I talk about how good they are, what they do, and how to use them effectively in the game. And as I said earlier, and as you saw in the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about Cecil Stedman, just as you guys voted in the most recent poll. If you're new around here and you end up enjoying this video, then please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video or new post. As always, if this video is helpful to you, then please smash that like button. With all that being said, let's get on with today's video. Alright, so, as usual, we're firstly going to give a brief description of Cecil, and then we'll start talking about his stats and his abilities. So, Cecil is a support character in the GDA faction, meaning he does an extra 20% damage to characters in the criminal organization. However, he takes an extra 20% damage from characters in the From Worlds Beyond faction. He has a slow movement speed, and he is a ranged character. His tags are as follows: he is a human, ranged, grounded leader who is also armed with a gun, because as we all know, guns really hurt Viltrumites. Okay, in fairness to him, it's not just your average gun. It's the same gun he uses in the second to last episode of Invincible, and it is enough to, at the very least, distract Omni-Man. Anyways, here are his base stats. He has a HP of 3,735, an attack of 2,231, and a defense of 782. His crit chance is 5%, and his crit damage is 150%. As well as this, his energy attack is 109%, while his energy defense is 105%. His physical attack is 101%, and his physical defense is 104%. Now for his abilities. His first ability, Bring the Hammer, actually does a very chunky, very good amount of damage. Essentially, it is an AoE attack that removes one buff from all enemies it affects and does 820% of his defense stats as damage. That is a big percentage. Even if you haven't ranked him up or leveled him up at all, that ability is still doing 6,412 damage, and that number will only increase as you build the guy. So, wow, what an incredible first ability. Only downside is it has a cooldown of 25 seconds, but even still, I mean, that's a pretty spectacular first ability. If you get this ability to level 10, however, it gets even better. It removes 4 buffs and does 1,020% of his defense stat as damage. As well as this, the cooldown is reduced to 21 seconds, which is very nice, and has a 60% chance of stunning the enemies affected for 3 seconds. Wow. What an outstanding first ability. His second ability, titled The Thorn in Your Side, makes it so that any enemy Guardians of the Globe see their attack decreased by 10% of Cecil's defense stat, as long as he is on the battlefield. When at level 10, it instead decreases their attack by 45% of Cecil's defense stat, and it also increases his defense by 10% for each GDA member on the team. His third ability, Subterfuge, makes it so that once per wave, after receiving a basic melee attack, Cecil teleports himself as far away as possible and steals 1 buff from the enemy, applying it to a random ally. If you get this ability to level 10, he can instead do it 5 times per wave, and he will steal all buffs from the enemy and apply them to a random ally. He will then heal the whole team by 80% of his defense and increase their crit chance by 70% for 6 seconds. Now, his final ability, quite an interesting one, Always Have Backup, allows Cecil to summon a Reaniman to the battlefield whenever an ally dies. However, they only have 30% of the stats that the ally had. At level 10, the Reaniman will instead have 75% of the ally's stats, and when landing, they will do an AoE wherever they land that will deal 325% of Cecil's attack stat. Alright, so now that we've talked about his base stats and given a brief description of him, we're going to talk about how to use Cecil, starting with the artifacts. For Cecil, I would use the Guardians of the Globe bracelet because that will give him even more synergy with GDA characters, or even better, I'd say, the GDA healing gel, because that means every time he buffs or gives a status effect to an ally, he will also heal them. And to me, that's kind of what Cecil is missing. Unless you get his third ability to level 10, he's not going to be doing any healing at all. Now, as for the skills that you should be prioritizing leveling up, in first place, I have the hammer, unsurprisingly. You can do 1020% of his defense stat as damage in an area, as well as remove 4 buffs from any enemies who get hit. And it has a 60% chance of stunning them for 3 seconds. That is absolutely amazing. Easily first place. In second place, I have Subterfuge. Not only does it give Cecil some survivability, but it also allows him to heal the entire team, increase their crit chance, and give one random ally all the buffs of the enemy that hit him. The only cons to this is that he only applies the buffs to a random ally rather than the ally that might need it most. And then there's also the fact that he can only do it 5 times per wave. And by that I mean waves in the GDA ops. Now, in GDA ops, it's not a problem. In any other case, you've got characters like Seismic and Invincible that can basically escape danger instantly and endlessly. So he's a little outclassed there. In third place, I have the Thorn in Your Side. And the reason I have it here is because, in fairness, it does decrease the attack stat of Guardians of the Globe enemies by a very good amount, but there aren't really very many Guardians of the Globe characters that might be your enemies. But even still, this is good in those situations where there is an enemy Guardian of the Globe, because they'll get slammed. My other gripe with this ability, however, is that Cecil increases his defense by 10% for each GDA member of the team, which is a little selfish considering he's a support. But what I will say is the higher his defense stat is, then the better his first and third ability are, so it's not useless. His final ability, however, isn't useless exactly, but compared to the others, it's certainly not useful. Yes, when you level it up, the Reaniman will have 75% of the ally stats. However, not only is it just a Reaniman, and Reanimen are very weak, but hey, let's say you want to summon a Reaniman, right? First things first, you need an ally to die. So let's say you put in an elite level 1 duplicate. Well, congratulations, she died immediately and now you have a Reaniman. However, if that Reaniman only has 75% of her stats, then it's going to be weaker and die even quicker before it has any time to actually do anything. In that case, you put in a higher level, higher rank character. But at that point, because they're a higher level, they're going to take longer to die. And is it really worth it to have a high level character die just so you can spawn in a Reaniman, who is already weaker than the character you once had? I didn't think so. Anyways, let's talk about how to use him. I think the best place to put him, since he's ranged and doesn't have a ton of survivability, a good amount but not a ton, is in the number 4 or number 5 spot. However, if you're feeling confident, then you can put him in the number 2 spot, since the moment he takes any melee damage, he will teleport as far away as possible, take their buffs, and apply them to allies. However, keep 2 things in mind. It's melee damage for a start, melee, so if the entire team is ranged, or if a lot of them are ranged, definitely don't do that. But also keep in mind he can only do it 5 times, and if he's doing it right at the start of the match, when no one has taken a massive amount of damage or even damage at all, the healing isn't really going to help. Considering he's the head of the GDA, Cecil synergizes really well with other GDA characters. And technically, since he's a leader, you could pair him with Conquest. but you'd probably be better off using Conquest with other Viltrumites. As for his tier, I'd say Cecil is a very solid A tier. He's unfortunately outclassed by other supporters like Red Rush and Robot, and because he's a human, Anissa will just slaughter him in any fight and get rid of a lot of what makes him good by decreasing his defense by a hefty amount. Still though, he's an A tier character with some very solid abilities. Alright, well, that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy it or found it useful, then please hit that like button, and if you want to see more character profiles, then hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time I post one. Next time we'll be doing a character from the Earth's Defenders faction, and if you want to be able to choose who that might be, then go ahead and vote in the poll that will be posted shortly after this video. That's all from me today, folks, and I'll see you next time.